Okay, some big news coming out of the NHL. Zdeno Chara, the Boston Bruins former captain and legend, has announced his retirement from the NHL. He was drafted way back in 1996, 56th overall by the New York Islanders, where he would start his NHL career and finish his NHL career. So nice bookends there. So he doesn't make his debut in the NHL till 97. He spends a year in the Western Hockey League. The New York Islanders assign him to the minors for a year. Comes up in 97. He would remain with the Islanders until the 2001 end of the 2000-2001 season, when he is traded to the Ottawa Senators on draft day as part of the Yashin deal. Now, the Islanders at this point are an organisation that is a mess. They're not going to win anything. They're badly run. Some really bad decisions were made, including trading Luongo and this guy. Roberto Luongo and Zdeno Chara were traded out by the New York Islanders as seen as they couldn't win with them. We're moving them on. Big mistake. The Ottawa Senators. Okay, the Ottawa Senators were not a bad team at this point. They're glad to be rid of Yashin. He signs. He does decide to stay. Obviously, he doesn't ask for a trade. He signs in 2001 with the Senators. Continues his contract. He would stay there until 2006. So the lockout loss season is also in this period. But he would leave as an unsigned, unrestricted free agent, which again, Ottawa Senators at the time, was a big mistake. The Boston Bruins pick him up. And it takes a little while for them to win the Stanley Cup with him in 2011. But there are two more finals with Zdeno Chara as captain. As soon as he signs, he is made captain. He is captain for every one of the seasons he is a Boston Bruin, which is 14 in total. He wins the 2009 Norris, the Stanley Cup in 2011, and goes to two more Stanley Cup finals in 2013 and 2019 as a Boston Bruin. Now, 2011, the Cup-winning year, is also notorious for the Pacioretty incident. And what happens is, it's now gone down in infamy. It's a very famous incident if you're an NHL fan. If you're not an NHL fan, where the penalty boxes are, you have stanchions. And the benches, you have stanchions where the glass is. And in Montreal, I don't know if they've changed this in Montreal since the incident, but every other arena seems to have better stanchion protection. End of the bench, there's a stanchion where the plexiglass is held and it curves. Stanchions there. Pacioretty's head and neck are driven into that by Zdeno Chara. Now, Zdeno Chara is a massive man. He's 6'7", 6'8". He's quite a sizable Slovakian beast, is the best way to describe him. He's one of the tallest guys ever to play in the NHL, if not the tallest. Pacioretty is no small man himself. Now, what happens is Pacioretty leaves the ice on a stretcher. The state of his condition is unknown at the time he leaves the ice on a stretcher. Chara gets a 5-minute major misconduct penalty for the incident. No further action is taken by the NHL in subsequent days. When the injury, it's obviously revealed how severe the injury is. Pacioretty had a non-displaced fracture of the fourth vertebra and a severe concussion. So basically, he broke his neck, partly dislocated one of the vertebrae and broke it, and was knocked cold, concussed. Pacioretty would have to have neck surgery so he could continue to play. This could have ended his career, and it could have been a much worse injury. However, thankfully it wasn't. Now, obviously, the 2011 Stanley Cup final ends up in the Vancouver Riot, goes to Game 7, and that is also an infamous incident in 2011. By the end of 2019, they get to another final, people thinking this could be his last season, he could retire. And then through the 2019-2020 off-season, which is obviously disrupted with the COVID pandemic, there are some calls that he may not sign with anyone. He's an unrestricted free agent. He hasn't been re-signed by the Boston Bruins. He's going to retire. He doesn't. He signs a 1-year deal with the Washington Capitals as an unrestricted free agent. 2020-2021. And then the Washington Capitals don't get out the first round. Now, they have recently won a Stanley Cup themselves. And again, in the off-season, last summer, again, there was question marks. Is he going to sign with anyone? Is he going to retire? He decides to re-sign with the New York Islanders for one last season. Now, the Islanders missed the playoffs. They had a very disrupted beginning of the season with the new arena being built, COVID outbreak, couldn't get any momentum. However, they have a good, strong end to the season. They missed the playoffs. Now, training camp is due to start in days. Decision's obviously been made. No one's interested in signing him as an unrestricted free agent. He is 45 at this point. He's been in the league as a player since 1997, so that's 25 years, and 26 years since he was drafted. 45-year-old. The rumours have been continuing all summer. He's decided to put those rumours to bed and say, look, I'm retiring. I'm signing a one-day contract with the Boston Bruins so I can retire a Bruin. But he's very thankful for all the teams he's played with, all the players he's played with and against. So he's ended his career. Now, he's played in 3 Stanley Cup finals, winning 1. He's won a Norris. But let's have a look at his NHL totals. He played a grand total of 1,680 NHL games. He scored 209 goals, 471 assists for 680 points in the regular season. It's his penalty minutes that terrifies. 2,085 penalty minutes. He was the active penalty minutes leader. I don't think any players that are currently active in the NHL would ever reach that penalty minutes total. This is not the 80s, 70s, 80s and 90s. This is the 2020s. I don't think any active player or player who's going to debut this season onwards will reach that penalty minutes total in the regular season. In the playoffs, he played a grand total of dead on 200 games. He scored 18 goals, 52 assists, 70 points. So he's a very good playoff performer. 218 penalty minutes in the playoffs. Those are some scary totals. So on retirement, he was the leading player active with penalty minutes. Over 1,500 games played. There's no doubt he's probably going in the Hall of Fame. The one question mark is the 2011 incident with Pacioretty in the Boston-Montreal game, which left Pacioretty with a broken neck. Could that be the blemish on him that prevents him from going in the Hall of Fame? Highly unlikely. There are some players in the Hall of Fame who've got worse records than that. There are some players who've missed the Hall of Fame with less egregious incidents than that. So it depends on who's on the Hall of Fame committee, but 1,680 games played. He's won an award. He's been a Stanley Cup winner. Played in 3 Stanley Cup finals. That many games played. I think he probably ends up in. But there you go. Zdeno Chara has announced his retirement from the NHL 26 years after being drafted. There we go. Does anyone else have that sort of length of career? Does Joe Thornton continue to play for as long as Chara has? Because Joe Thornton is getting close to the length of time in the league as Zdeno Chara. He's in his early 40s. Patrick Marleau has just retired and obviously passed the games played record of Gordie Howe. So there's been some players that have basically been generational players that have played in the NHL since the mid-90s till now that have just retired or are about to retire. So Joe Thornton, I think, has got maybe 1 season left in him, maybe 2 at a push. So when Joe Thornton decides to retire, what do his totals look like? But anyway, thank you very much for watching. Place your thoughts in the comment section below, and I will have some more content for you very, very soon.